I'm going to give you just a little bit of a rundown about what we're going to talk about today. This webinar is entitled The Gifts of Rebellion, 3 Lessons from Your Inner Rebel. What we're going to talk about is, let me move this here so you can see it, is that we're going to just have a little discussion about the energy of rebellion and the different ways in which this shows up in the personas. We're going to talk about the 3 types of rebels and their gift. We're going to talk about the upcoming Aquarius Leo moon cycle, and that's really what this webinar is an introduction for. We're going to talk about a little bit about the moon phases and the powers that correspond with those. And then we'll let you know how you can go deeper with this if you want to join us for this coming month. All right.
So, what is your inner rebel persona? So,
wonder if,
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I wonder if the people that are on this call, type into the chat, do you think of yourself as a rebel? Do you feel like you went through a rebellious phase when you were younger? Do you identify with that at all? Just type it in, just out of curiosity, how much do you identify with this word?
How do you identify with it, Christine?
I feel like for me, in a lot of ways, I went through a pretty hard period of rebellion when I was younger. And it was really necessary for me, and difficult. And I feel like I've always kind of been that person in my family that is different, that's not willing to look at the elephant in the room and just pretend it's not there. And so I feel like I can identify with this energy and with the impulses of this energy for sure.
Yeah, I feel, of course, like I can as well. And it's just a very interesting thing because it can be so isolating. It feels so isolating. Yael says, I feel I went through a kind of rebellion as well. Yeah, so we're going to take some time to just discuss the 3 areas of 3 archetypes of the inner rebel, how they show up. And you can see, maybe you identify with all of them, maybe you're in one area of that in your life right now. And this course can assist you in getting clear about that, really becoming sort of aware of who you are and what you are not. And it's as streamlined as that. Who am I and what am I not? And seeing how that shows up in your life. And so let's just go on the journey.
Yeah, and I wanted to say, one other thing I wanted to say too is I picked up this image because it really it said something to me about the rebel is often willing to break the rules in service to themselves. And I think that's one of the big things, that you're willing to step outside of the group, the box, what you're conditioning. And I think that's a big part of it, and a little bit what we're going to be looking at with the different archetypes today.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Naomi said that I am a rebel in choosing to live differently than some of my family and choosing to be happy despite not having the same things people believe I should have to be happy.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yep, for sure. We'll definitely talk about that. So this is the one that we've named this one, that I've got to be me rebel. And a little bit of what this archetype is about. This is kind of your classic, think of teenage rebellion. The urge to rebel during adolescence is a really important developmental phase, and it has a purpose. You've been, up until that point, you've been very conditioned by the people around you. You grew up in a family, how they think, all of that, you've just been in that soup. It's almost like you don't know any different at that point. And that urge to distance that happens in adolescence, it serves a purpose of okay, this is who I am within this family, but now who am I outside of this? Who am I actually? How do I want to define my values? And so that urge to distance is actually a really healthy part of understanding who you are and as an individual. Um, and I think that, speaking to anybody who's a parent, um, this is a really important phase, and it sometimes can be hard to take as a parent because you can take it personally, you know, and um, it's really important to understand that like this is an important part of a child really understanding who they are and learning who they are and learning how to anchor into themselves, and I don't think it's a process that's meant to be interfered with. And
Mhm.
often the problems or the things you hear about, rebellious teenagers, it's because we're trying to fight it rather than flow with it.
Mhm. Absolutely. One of the things I experienced, my son is an Aquarian, and astrology has helped me really navigate the experience of parenting him because he is very unique in his, just in everything about him. He's unique. And I have made it my business to step back as often as possible to allow him to be true to himself and discover that. It's it's tricky because I don't want to be too much of his friend. I want to be his parent and not his friend. And so I have to constantly remind myself that this is parenting, like by giving him space to be unique is the way this child needs to be parented. And I don't need to do it. I don't need to imprint upon him in the way that the culture says or the family says or even what I see going on around me. It's a very interesting experience.
Yeah, I have my two youngest children are both Aquarians, and yeah, I mean, I have found that it's the most ineffective way, to try to control anything about who they are. It's
Right.
just not how they roll. And it's not how it's, ideally that when you know the astrology of your child, you
Hmm.
use it to help you support them.
Right.
Like you get to know who they are and really what their arc is in life. And you can be a support to that or an ally to that rather than fighting against it, because we're all on our own individual path and we're all going to have the struggles that we have come up, and so why be one of those struggles, like you can
Right.
actually like be a resource.
Absolutely.
The challenge with this energy is there's a couple that came to mind for me. How do I know who I am? I remember like I had a really profound experience when I was 30. I moved away from the town I grew up in for the first time.
Mhm.
And I had not lived at home for years, but um, I was really shocked at how much it really helped me change my perspective. It really helped me step back and see even more of where my own family's conditioning, like the places where I had just accepted it without
Mhm.
any ideas. It was like I would go back and it would feel jarring for me for a while.
Mhm.
And even though I didn't live at home, like while I was still living in the same city with the rest of my family, I was still immersed in it in a way that I didn't see until I really separated. And so
Mhm.
sometimes really being able to see who you are and feel who you are at your core, it does involve that need to be an outsider, to step
Mhm.
away, to remove yourself from what is familiar. It sometimes it's easier to really get in touch with that when there is some distance or some detachment on some
Absolutely.
level. One of the other challenges with this is just it can be hard to break free of conditioning. There's a lot of, if you have a family that is controlling, if you have a family that feels really strongly about how you should be, it can be hard, especially if you want to be loved, you still want the love and acceptance of this family, but yet you may not believe as they do or be immersed in it. And so that can be part of the struggle of the energy of individuation.
Mhm. Mhm.
Do you
Absolutely.
want to talk about like the gifts of this?
Well, yes, I will.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. Um, so This is what happens when we get in these calls. Like, I love this stuff so much that I don't want to teach. I just want to listen because I'm teaching all the time. So literally, I'm like, yeah, that's so good. Oh my God, yes. So please forgive me. Um, so the gift of individuation is really trusting yourself, knowing yourself, being yourself. Like, that is the result of it. That you harness this relationship with yourself that transcends this idea of loneliness. It's like you begin to covet the sound of your own internal voice, the direction of your own guidance and feelings, because you'll be led to the results that are for you. Like, it's beginning to understand you can't do things the way your mother did them. Your mother can only tell you to do it the way she knows to do it. That anyone can only give you their own formula. They cannot give you the formula that is for you. So in individuation, you get to see, okay, that's what this person has done, and that is, they did this and they did that. What do I need to do? So many of us don't give ourselves the opportunity to listen, so that we're taking other people's medicine. It's like, one size fit all. And life is not one size fits all. It literally is one size fits just you. And this is the opportunity to access what yours is.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing that comes to mind for me here too is um this is really like the hero's journey. Like
Mhm,
in a lot of cultures, there is a form of ritual around this age, like right like around 13,
mhm,
rituals of sort of going out on your own, having a vision quest. And it's different in different cultures, but we don't have a similar rite of passage in
mhm,
American culture completely. Um, and it's important because because essentially, like, what you're meant to do is to step outside of the whole, so that you can return to the community with what you
mhm.
have to offer as a whole person.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Cool. Do you want to go with this one, or you want me to go?
Sure. Do you want to introduce this one?
Go. Yeah. So the
Okay.
freedom fighter rebel. So the freedom fighter rebel is the ability to be able to recognize when you're in something that isn't for you. And that can be an internal thing, like an internal behavior where you're outgrowing something. Say, for instance, like right now, I'm in a pattern of sort of outgrowing the old way I've done my sexuality, that I have functioned in my sexuality. So I am in a internal battle, rebelling against something with a behavior pattern within me that no longer serves me. I am working it out on the inside of myself. And so as I do that, it then shows up in this experience with the people that I'm in relationship with. It's showing up in my experience with my lovers. It's showing up in me looking at, like, what did I learn from my parents and their sexuality? And so we have this opportunity to see in our own lives, where are we stagnant? Where are we stuck? Where are we needing to break free? And owning it on the inside, and then cultivating through practice, through paying attention, through listening, through exploration, through ritual, new ways to, like, to sprout a new seed, right? To, like, literally to sprout a new bud that will grow so that you can become something different. And so that
Yeah.
is the freedom fighter rebel. What do you think about this one, Christine? How's it show up for
Yeah,
you?
I think this one often starts stirring in situations where we're a little bit stuck,
Hmm.
where things have stagnated, where we know there is something that needs to shift, but we might not even be able to identify it. I remember when I had a job in my 20s that like I was comfortable, like it paid really well, but like my heart wasn't completely in it, and I was bored, and I needed I needed to shift my direction at that point, but it wasn't an action I was just taking on my own. And I remember like where it finally kind of hit me is like, I had a day where I woke up and I'm like, I cannot go. I cannot get out of bed. I cannot move. And I think I called in sick for like 3 days straight.
Mm.
And I really, I felt almost like depressed. I'm like I was, at the time I was younger. I was like, what is wrong with me? Like, I don't know what's happening. And I think that is sometimes it's almost necessary sometimes to stagnate, to really kindle the fire of this energy to show up.
Mm-hmm.
But once it does, it's like sometimes there's a courage that comes with it, and kind of an irreverence that comes with it. You're just willing to start shaking something up because it's better than being stuck, and it's better than no movement.
Yeah.
um, there's a thing to be careful with this energy, is that sometimes turning things upside down can be a way to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like we're going through something that's difficult, and rather than being in it and allowing ourselves to feel it and face it, we can sort of rebel against something as a way to avoid it. So there's a level of discernment that you also
Yeah.
have to cultivate in knowing the difference. Like, is it
Absolutely.
really time for me to throw a grenade into this situation, or do I just not want to feel it? Do I want to avoid it
Yeah.
somehow? And
Yeah.
also navigating change is hard. Sometimes it's change isn't always easy for humans. It's not easy for our egos. And so it can be unsettling.
Mm-hmm. It's so one of the things that's so interesting for me in my own personal life is that I grew up in a family of rebels, right? And so the thing for me was interesting was like, wow, I'm gonna rebel against just being so rebellious. Like just I just don't want to burn everything down, folks. Like I want to sleep tonight in a comfortable bed. Right? So the rebellion thing is you really do have to know why you're in that energetic frequency, like why it am I doing this because I'm being there, this is my immaturity leading this, or is my wisdom leading this? And it's
Mm,
subtle. Knowing the difference is subtle.
yeah, it sure is. And the gifts of of really working with this type of energy, um, it's true freedom, like real true freedom, where you feel like you are at the wheel of your
Mm-hmm.
life, like you are the author, you are driving the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And really being into anchor, like being able to anchor into who you really are and operate from that place.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, the ability to change, like the ability to have one part of you die and something else be reborn. um that's a powerful shift. Some people spend their entire life avoiding it and really not learning how to navigate change.
Right.
And so like that's a huge gift of this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And growth and expansion, like sometimes these are places in your life, like I was talking about in the group yesterday. I was talking about how the planet Uranus is what rules Aquarius, and that's kind of the energy that we're talking about right now. When you're around 42, you have your first Uranus opposition in your
Mm-hmm.
chart. And this is often a time that is really a wake-up call for people in their lives. We traditionally kind of see this as like a midlife crisis. And your Uranus opposition is very much the energy around that phase of your life. And sometimes it's like being willing to just shake things up is huge, and it's powerful, and it's exhilarating,
Yeah.
like when you really work with it.
Yeah. It reminds me of that quote that says, "Do the thing that scares you the most."
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Did you have anything more on that one
No,
to
I'm good.
add? Okay. All right. This is my personal favorite. This is the innovator rebel. And the innovator rebel is the archetype within you. And this is stronger in some people more so than others. But it's an important one to talk about. Um, Innovation and difference leads to expansion. So when there's a part of you that wants to change the way that things are, that part of you needs a voice. And innovators, like this innovator energy, it's the person that's ahead of their time. They're a change agent. This tends to be an energy that's really triggering to other people because we're all over here complacent in the way things are. We're not ready for things to change. And you're like, hey, I have this new way that we can do things. And people aren't always comfortable to see you coming. And so what's really important when this is the energy that you're working with is that you have to cultivate a sense of self-approval that is unshakable, because you're not going to get it externally. A lot of times people that are changing things, that are changing culture, that are changing systems and structures, you're not going to get outside validation and approval in the short term, in the now.
Right.
You will later. A lot of times the arc of this energy is like people fight you, they disapprove, and then all of a sudden later on they're like, oh, we always believed in her. Like this is the energy of the
Right.
innovator. Or they
Yeah.
start talking about, like what you've known all along, like it's just common knowledge.
Right. Right.
And
You've said
so
it so many times that then they're saying it like they've always known it. Right.
yeah, exactly. And it's really, and there's a loneliness to this energy.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest challenges, because you are outside of the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a loneliness that you really have to reckon with. It's like you have to be able to feed yourself from within and to nurture yourself from within. And also for community, consider the possibility that your peers are other people who are also outsiders.
Mm-hmm.
That's another possibility, that you find support in that way, and not trying to be accepted by what you're immersed in changing.
Yeah. Yes, these are the people. These are the Martin Luther Kings and the Gandhis and but we have them in our communities. They're not just that huge. They're also your brother and your sister and all of that, But we see the evidence of it and things that really think people that really move our culture forward, and that could be the culture of your family, the culture of your community, and you even have access to that inside of you. You have access to it. It is the part of yourself that knows things before they happen. And like I think we all kind of have a sense of that. We all have a sense of like, how long is this gonna last? Like maybe you I mean, this might be a bad example or tasteless, but like you see somebody get into a relationship and they're all excited and you're like, yeah, that's gonna that. Let's see how long that lasts, right? But it's because you have foresight, right? You can see something that person doesn't see. That's all it is. You can see something that person doesn't see. So you already know the challenges that are going to come, and you know that person, so you know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like it's already written out, right? And so we all have that capacity. We all have that innovator rebel. We all have it. It shows up in various ways. And the question is, do you have the courage to like pull it until it unravels entirely, the thing, you know what I mean? And so until the culture is completely different. So Steve Jobs, the iPhone. I remember when there was no iPhone at all. I worked at a place in New York, not iPhone, like when there was no cell phones that have cameras, and I was working at a marketing place where I was calling people at night to ask them what did they feel about a camera and a phone. This is before we had cameras on our phone. And right. So that's that innovative energy. And I know looking back today, I know that I was just in that innovative experience. I was in that frequency, which is why I was working at that company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Cause think about it, like that aspect of you that can see something clearly before someone else can. That's the inventor,
Yes.
like that's what inventors do. They see something as a possibility before the collective can completely see it yet. Like imagine, like I think of like radio, like the concept that there is something out there in the air that is invisible and you can't see it, and we can tune in a receiver to like receive that message. Like it feels like, I'm sure it felt insane, like before
Yeah.
you know it's a possibility. And that's true of a lot of things. It doesn't have to be these big, huge, life-changing inventions. Like
Right.
sometimes you're the person in your family structure that just sees that something can be done differently,
Mm-hmm.
that we can shift this pattern. We all have our individual brilliance. And so like the invitation is to tap into the part of you that, what do you see that other people don't see as readily? And are
Right.
you willing to share that at the risk of disapproval to move us all forward?
Yes.
We Monique and I were talking this morning, and I said I realized that there was a big one that I didn't include in the slides, and so we were just gonna add that in there. But
Mm-hmm.
it's the family rebel.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know about those of you on this call. I know that I am this person in my family. I think, Monique, you said you are as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the person that within a family structure, like this is the black sheep, the one that isn't the conformist, the one that is essentially willing to be the pattern interrupter
Mm-hmm.
for your bloodline.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
we need them more than ever.
and I know a lot of these people. Like I feel like these are my peers, really.
Yeah.
And again, there's a common theme here. There's this outsider, this loneliness theme. It's really lonely being that person within a family,
Yes.
like because you're sometimes treated in a way that you're not lovable or you're not acceptable because you're willing to challenge how things are. And it's a lonely place to be because like we all want acceptance and we want to be part of a community and a family. And yet when you're that person that like you just know that you are here to heal something and to shift something in a family line, um it can be a lonely road. I know it's felt like that for me a lot of times within my own family.
Oh, yes. How do you manage that? How do you manage the loneliness?
um i I think what I my practice was like I really started developing um a sense of being comfortable in
Mm-hmm.
my alone, like being comfortable by myself and alone. Like that actually, like I think I've cultivated that to the point in my life where I like my own company a lot
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really comfortable in it. Um and I think like the other thing that I feel like I really had to come full circle with, and it was, it's been a long arc. I had to discharge a lot of anger because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the first stage of it is being angry at what I
Mm-hmm.
experienced and what I felt was lacking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was like a necessary part, like I feel like to burn through that because it eventually got me to the place where I could have compassion for
Mm-hmm.
everyone involved. I didn't look at myself as a victim. I didn't look at my parents as having done something to me. I just looked at them as like, they were a product of what they were born into as well, and like, yeah, I feel like for me, like that was a necessary arc in it of really learning that compassion.
Yeah.
Um, because when you get to that place where you're willing to accept others as they are, they do the same for you.
Absolutely. That's really profound and beautiful. Thank you. I don't have anything to add to that. I think that we all can resonate with that probably on some level.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and then and what I would say the gift is of being the family rebel is that like you heal generational patterns,
That's
like,
right.
and like you said, we need that you
Right
know
now. Right now.
yeah,
We need that
exactly.
more than any other time on the planet. We need people who are healing generational patterns.
Yeah, absolutely, amen
Okay.
to that.
Amen.
All right.
That picture is beautiful. You go for this one. I'm learning
Yeah.
so much. You all, yes, okay, great. I apologize. Please go. Okay.
Okay. All right, so the new cycle that we're moving into, so in the 13 moons initiation every month, we take people through the different cycles of the moon, and we have a focal point, and we use astrology for the focal point. And so the new cycle that we're moving into Um, this is the sun will be in Aquarius, which means that our full moon will be in Leo. So this is an Aquarius Leo cycle. And so we just wanted to talk a little bit about um, what that means and kind of the theme. And starting out with this rebel theme is a really good place to jump into this, because Aquarius is really the sign of the rebel, the eccentric, the visionary, the forward thinking, future thinking archetype. And so some of the focus in this coming month will be freedom and awakened insight. Um, Uranus, the planet that rules Aquarius, is sometimes referred to as the Great Awakener, because sometimes the shifts it brings into your life are so abrupt and just circuit breaking almost, that it moves you into a way of seeing and thinking that you couldn't have accessed before.
Mm-hmm.
This is the visionary energy, and really, like, the Aquarius Leo energy together. I always like to kind of phrase these things as a question, and the question really here is, how do I serve my community with my individual gifts? How do I develop who I am enough, and then how do I use that to return to the community and serve my community? Again, it's like the hero's journey to some degree. Like, you go out and you have a transformation, and then you bring it back to your community. And so that's kind of the theme for this upcoming month. And then, of course, we're always looking at, we have people choose two short-term objectives that you want to manifest during the moon cycle. And so it's different for everybody involved. Like, we have kind of this overarching theme that we're looking at, but you're going to choose things that are really specific to you within this.
Right.
And we take you through a process of identifying that as well.
Yeah. And we have a private group where we are there with you on a regular basis, answering questions, letting you know where the phases are. And I just love it. It's the thing that's so powerful about this energy is that we are awakening these archetypes inside of us. So it doesn't matter if you're an Aquarius or a Leo. That's not what it's about. It's about awakening the archetype of the rebel within you. Leo, it'll be the full moon. So awakening the archetype of the leader within you. So it's not about if you are these particular things, or just because we are all these things. We are all of it. Whether I'm a Virgo, but of course I have Mars and Leo. So this month I know that because I have Mars and Leo, I'm going to really be bringing forth a lot of energy towards taking action and really getting myself out there, and because Mars is in Leo. And so I'm going to use this energy for that. And whatever is going on in your chart personally is what will be ignited while you're doing this work.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Great.
Do you want to talk about moon phases?
Sure.
Moon
So,
mama?
yes. So every month we move you through the moon phases, and there are 8 phases of the moon. And so we explore. Actually, there are 9 phases because we have added in the peace phase, and that phase runs through the entire phase, where you come into an understanding of just being at peace with whatever is. And so then we guide you through each phase, which happens about every 3 or 4 days. So you are able to choose a goal or something you're going to be focusing your energy on. So, say, for instance, in this one around individuality, your goal, like my goal might be, I'm going to have the courage to speak my truth, even though maybe I think it's crazy. Maybe I think the things that I believe or feel are so out there that I have been holding back. I've been silencing myself. And so I will choose a goal, and then throughout the 28 days, I will work with that particular goal in these very unique ways with each moon phase. So there is the clearing phase and the gathering phase and the planning phase and the leading phase. And there are 8 of them. And we will direct you through all of them so that you can embody them in ways that by the time we're complete, or by the time I'm complete, I will be saying exactly what I think, even if even if it is crazy, people will know what it is, I think, because I have done the internal work and chosen one particular thing, one particular action that will be the thing that is the pebble in the ocean that allows me to shift the pattern forever. And so that's how we do it.
Yeah, and I wanted to say that about moon phases. Um, it's been really powerful for me to work with and learn the moon phases because I felt like in the beginning when I started, I felt like it was outside of me. Like I was running to keep up and trying to follow along. And what I've really learned over time is that these are internal. If you think about the moon controls the water on the planet, our bodies are made of water. And so like we are moved by the moon. And so if you align yourself with the moon phases and do the things, take the actions, whether they're internal or external, at the right time during the month, you're more empowered in what you're doing and when you're doing things. And so and what happens is you internalize it. You begin to just feel it, where it's like you don't even have to think about it anymore, and you're able to align your actions to the times when they're most powerful.
Mm.
So we're kind of talking about this already. um, what we're looking at in this coming month is how to break free, like how to cultivate that inner rebel. And what we offer in the group is guidance through all of these phases. We have practices that we share. Cheryl is not on the call today. She's the other facilitator in the moon room. She creates really great rituals during the month for you, and we have meditations during the new moon and full moon. And we're here to help you guide you through these phases and to help you internalize them, to help you be able to align with whatever energy you need when you need it.
Okay. So this next class starts on January 19th. I just want to check the date on that. I'm
Yeah, I know.
sorry.
I was actually second guessing myself when I put
Yeah.
that in here, so I'm glad that you're saying that because
Okay. It starts January 17th.
Okay. Darn it.
Okay, it's all good. Thank you. It's all good. This is on the recording. The next class starts on January 17th, and you can choose 2 short-term goals. We already mentioned that. We're taking initiates through an entire year. We started at Libra, we're now in Aquarius. And the first month, if you join today or before or in the next couple of days, it's going to be $20.20 for 2020 for you to have your clear vision. So it's $20.20. If you go back to the last one,
Yeah.
the one before that, I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah, that's
great.
okay.
Okay. So with it, like we were saying before, with this membership, you will get a Facebook private group experience, daily guidance and live videos, elemental rituals for 28 days, access to 3 coaches in the private group, Christine, myself, and Cheryl. The Moon Manifestation Library, which is a library of all sorts of videos and rituals and things that you can use on a regular basis to help you embody the energy of the moon in a deeper way. Accountability exercises, a monthly astrological call, which Christine facilitates, which is so brilliant to help you understand how to embody the access of the energies internally for yourself. So that you come and you get to talk about your chart and ask questions, but listen and really learn how we're embodying these energies and really taking astrology outside of a pop phenomena. Astrology is a deep spiritual practice. And I like to say that what we're doing, this is the moon church. Like we literally are worshiping ourselves. We're worshiping ourselves and we're studying ourselves and we are becoming goddesses. That is what we're doing. And then emails that will focus on the lunar phase changes. So thank you so much. And that is that. So like I said, it's $20.20 for the first month. The code is 13 Moons Aquarius. and this is the link where you can go to enroll, and we would love to have you. And if anybody has any questions, please take yourself off mute and you can ask any questions you have or put them in the chat.
Or also comments.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to talk about like anything that popped up for you in this conversation about your, you know, what kind of rebel you identify with the most, or anything that came up for you, feel free to share.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Christine. I really appreciate you, and thank you all for being here. And we start on the 17th, so we are excited for you to all join us. And if you have any questions offline or privately, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, either together or separately, and to answer any questions that you would have. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Bye bye. Thank you.